When I graduated from grad school, I thought moving back home was the smartest choice. But no one warned me that it would mark the beginning of a living nightmare. My days begin at 6 a.m. I work 12-hour shifts at a biotechnology lab, clocking over 60 hours a week including weekends. Since graduating, I've been working non-stop. No debt, no vacations, no luxury. My car is fully paid off. My savings came from nothing but grit and relentless effort. I sacrificed sleep, friends, and any semblance of balance just to stay ahead. Meanwhile, my older sister Nicole, who is 5 years older than me and still lives at home, lives a completely different life. She wakes up at 11 a.m., lounges on the couch in her pajamas, and scrolls through Instagram on her phone. Her business ventures change constantly. First it was handmade jewelry, then stock trading, then crypto, and now she wants to be an influencer. "This time I'm really going to make it," she'd say, always followed by a request for money. "Every investment needs some startup capital. Once I make it, I'll pay you back double." Nicole's money requests were always cleverly staged. "Lindsay, can we talk?" She'd come into my room with a sad face. "I'm short on supplies for my jewelry. Could you lend me just $500? I hesitated. "Again? I just lent you $800 last month." "I know. But this time I really have a shot at success." Her eyes would fill with tears. "Even if it doesn't work out, I'll pay you back with my paycheck next month." But that's when she'd grab my hand. "Please, Lindsay, you're the only one I can count on. We're family, right?" And I could never say no, because Nicole knew exactly how to exploit my greatest weakness. Ever since I was a child, I believed I had to be the good girl to be loved. Our parents always prioritized Nicole, and I was expected to just endure it. I grew up hearing things like, "Family helps each other. It's your job to support your sister." So turning her down felt like betraying my family's love. Nicole also knew how to manipulate my guilt. "Is it because I'm a failure of a sister? Do you look down on me?" She'd cry and I would always give in. Part of me wanted to believe her words, "I'll pay you back. This time I'll succeed." If she ever did make it, then maybe my support wouldn't have been in vain. I clung to that tiny bit of hope. And so, time and time again, I'd sigh, say, "Fine, but this is the last time," and open my wallet. $500 for jewelry supplies, $1,200 for stocks, $800 to open a crypto trading account. Nicole's room was in the basement, but it might as well have been a penthouse. She had a high-end gaming chair, a 4K monitor, premium cosmetics, all bought with my money. Meanwhile, my own room was still my childhood bedroom, tiny, with outdated furniture. What infuriated me the most was how completely my parents misunderstood the situation. At dinner one night, Dad said proudly, "Nicole's got real vision. She's a natural at business. Lindsay, you could learn a thing or two from her." Mom chimed in. "Nicole's been so good to Lindsay too. She's such a caring big sister." I put down my fork. "What are you talking about?" Dad smiled. "Nicole told us she's been helping you out covering your research costs and travel expenses for your conferences." Mom nodded warmly. "She's been doing so well with her investments, and she's been generous enough to support you." I was speechless. Nicole had completely reversed the story. She had made it seem like she was the successful one helping her struggling little sister, when in fact, I was the one propping her up financially all along. "That's not true," I said quickly. "I'm the one who's been lending money to Nicole." Dad frowned. "What are you talking about? Nicole would never lie about something like that. It's the truth." I reached for my bank statements to prove it, but Mom raised her hand to stop me. "Lindsay, why would you say something like that?" "Don't speak badly about your sister." She looked genuinely confused. "Nicole is a successful entrepreneur now. She's doing well enough to support you? An entrepreneur?" I almost laughed, but Dad cut me off. "Jealousy is ugly, Lindsay. Just because your sister's doing well doesn't mean you should make up stories." I tried to present the evidence, but my parents refused to listen. "Nicole is an honest girl. You're the one who's wrong. You're trying to bring your sister down." In the end, none of my desperate explanations were believed. Worse, I was labeled the jealous little sister. That's when I realized. In this family, Nicole's words held more weight than the truth. Then came the turning point. While talking about her latest business opportunity, Nicole said, "Lindsay is so good with money. She's always helping me. She's such a reliable little sister." She made it sound like I was willingly supporting her out of love. That night, I reviewed my bank statements. I calculated all the money I had lent Nicole over the past 2 years, plus what I had covered for the family. It totaled over $50,000. That was most of my annual income. This wasn't family anymore. This was a parasite and host relationship. And I had had enough. It was time for a change. And so, I began to make plans quietly. One morning, after returning home from the lab, I walked into the living room and saw a bizarre scene. My dad, Frank, stood red-faced, gripping some papers. My mom, Debbie, was in tears. And Nicole sat on the couch with a look like the whole world was against her. "Lindsay, sit down," Dad said, his voice trembling. "It's a family meeting." Cautiously, I took a seat across from them. Dad threw the papers in front of me. They were collection notices from a financial institution. "Nicole's investment failed," he said. "The monthly repayment is $1,800. If this continues, the whole family will go bankrupt." The crypto bubble had burst and Nicole's final big move had completely collapsed. Apparently, she had taken out a personal loan for $22,000 and invested all of it in cryptocurrency. Her bold claims of guaranteed profits this time had turned to ash in just 6 weeks. I stayed calm. That's her responsibility. It has nothing to do with me. At that moment, Dad exploded. "Nothing to do with you? You live in this house. Can't you help your sister out of just one mistake? After all she's done for you? I already pay rent. What kind of nonsense is that?" His voice turned into a roar. "You haven't paid for anything. Stop relying on Nicole for everything. You're an adult, aren't you? A freeloader gets out of this house or pays $2,800 in rent each month." I couldn't believe my ears. I had been the one covering all the rent. Nicole hadn't paid a single cent. "Wait," I said. "Nicole's paying rent?" Dad puffed out his chest. "She's been paying $2,800 a month." I was stunned. Nicole tried to stop him, but it was too late. I turned to her. "Is that true?" She faltered. Yeah, of course. Obviously." "Hold on." I stood up. "That doesn't make sense. Nicole's never paid rent." "I've been paying all of it." Dad's face turned crimson. "What are you saying?" "Nicole deposits the money every month." "Then," I said, "let's see a rent receipt. Or even a bank transfer record." Nicole went pale. I don't have that on me right now." "Are you trying to sabotage Nicole?" Dad roared again. "Accusing your sister like this, how shameful." Mom joined in. "Lindsay, Nicole would never lie like that." "You must be confused." I pulled up my banking app and showed them. "Here's the proof. Every month, I'm the one transferring the full rent." But Dad still refused to believe it. Anyone can fake a phone screen. "I trust Nicole." That's when Nicole muttered under her breath, "Dad." But he cut her off. "You don't need to say anything, Nicole. Lindsay is just jealous, that's all." I understood completely. The truth didn't matter. What infuriated me more than anything was that my parents wholeheartedly believed Nicole's lies. I took a deep breath. "So you're saying I should sacrifice myself to pay off her debts?" Mom cut in. "Do you really think helping your family is a sacrifice?" I stood up. "So you expect me to sell my car and put it toward her loan repayments?" Dad's face shifted for a split-second surprise. Because that was exactly what he had in mind. "Your car would sell for a good price," he said. "You could get 20 grand for it. That would cover the repayments for a while." I was speechless. That car was paid off after 5 years of part-time work through college. It was essential for my daily commute. Without it, I couldn't even get to work. "So you want me to sell my car to pay off Nicole's debts while I continue to cover the entire rent?" I made sure. "That's your idea of family love?" "Yes," Dad said firmly. "That's what family is for." That night, I sat alone in my car. I didn't start the engine. I just sat in silence and thought. For the past 2 years, I had been treated like an ATM, only acknowledged as part of the family when they needed money, ignored otherwise. And I made a decision. I was done. If they saw me as an ATM, then it was time for that ATM to flash insufficient funds. In a way they'd never expect. Because I had a secret. I had been quietly working on a plan for the past 6 months. And now, it was finally time to put that plan into action. 6 months ago, I made the most important decision of my life. It started when I overheard Dad grumbling about home repairs. That's when it hit me. Why not just buy the house? When I started looking into it, I discovered a shocking truth. My parents had defaulted on the mortgage 3 years ago due to financial hardship. The home they'd purchased 15 years ago was one step away from foreclosure. But they had kept it hidden. Every month, they'd taken the $2,800 I thought I was paying in rent and used it to cover the overdue mortgage payments. Quietly, I consulted a lawyer and a real estate agent. As a foreclosure property, I could purchase the house for 70% of its market value. And there was another secret no one in my family knew. I had been investing in biotech stocks since college. Thanks to my industry knowledge, those investments had exploded in the last 2 years. My initial $10,000 investment had grown into $150,000 over 4 years. On top of that, I'd received a $50,000 bonus from my lab for a patent submission. I had quietly saved up $200,000. And with that, I bought the house paid in full, in cash. The deed listed me as the sole owner. I didn't tell anyone. On the day the purchase finalized, I stood outside the house with my real estate agent. Legally, everyone in my family had just become my tenants. But I didn't act. I was waiting for the right moment. It came sooner than expected. One Sunday afternoon, my phone rang. It was Nicole's ex-husband, John. His voice was serious. "Lindsay, I need to talk to you. It's about Nicole." "Can we meet tonight?" Sensing the urgency, I agreed. We met at a nearby cafe. He was already seated, clutching an envelope, visibly unsettled. "Good to see you, John." As I sat down, he pulled out some papers from the envelope. They were loan application forms from a bank. "Take a look at this," he said. "These are the documents Nicole submitted to apply for a crypto investment loan." I froze as I read them. The applicant's name, Lindsay Manning. My name. My address, phone number, employer, income, all of it was my personal information. But the signature was clearly forged. I was speechless. "This is identity theft," John said. "Nicole used your name to apply for the loan. She leveraged your credit score and income to borrow $22,000. My hands started to shake. "Do my parents know about this?" John's expression darkened. "Actually, your parents were involved." "What?" Nicole first approached them about it. She told them, "If I use Lindsay's name, I can get better loan terms." Your parents said, "As long as she gives permission, it's fine." But Nicole was afraid you'd say no. So she forged everything without telling you. John pulled out another set of documents. "These are emails between Nicole and your parents. When she lied and said you'd agreed, they replied, 'If that's the case, go ahead with the process.'" I felt the air leave my lungs. My entire family had deceived me. "How do you know all this?" During the divorce proceedings, I had legal access to Nicole's phone and laptop data. "That's when I found everything and realized you were a victim too." He handed me more documents. "These are printed emails. Nicole was impersonating your email address to communicate with the bank." I reviewed everything, line by line. Nicole had used my social security number, my driver's license, my employer's name. This wasn't just a family loan. This was serious fraud. "Why are you telling me this?" I asked. John exhaled heavily. "Because during the divorce, Nicole also opened a credit card in my name. She did to me exactly what she did to you." But I stayed quiet. That was my mistake. The next day, I met with Vanessa, a seasoned attorney. She studied the documents with a hardened look. "This is a clear case of identity theft. This may qualify as a federal crime. You can report this to the FBI." What about civil action? You can absolutely sue. You're entitled to damages your credit score, emotional distress, and all actual financial losses caused by the fraud. I returned home and sat alone in silence. In my hands were two things: the deed to the house and hard proof of my sister's crime. It felt like I was holding two live grenades. And I made a decision. I would confront her with the truth at the very moment she was happiest. My family doesn't know anything yet. They had no idea their world was about to collapse and that it would be entirely their own doing. Nicole's 30th birthday party was a grand affair she called the beginning of a new chapter. White tents were set up in the backyard, lavish catering, a professional photographer, all supposedly paid for from the family savings. In reality, it had all come from my savings. Over 30 guests were in attendance: relatives, neighbors, Nicole's friends, and even some local influencers. Nicole wore a white dress and acted like the bride at her own wedding. "I have a special announcement today," she said, taking the mic. "I'm launching my new lifestyle brand. Thanks to my family's support, my dream is finally coming true." Applause followed. From inside the house, I watched the scene unfold with a white envelope in hand. 3 p.m. Just as she began her speech, I stepped out into the backyard. I walked calmly through the crowd, the envelope clutched to my chest. "Oh, Lindsay," Nicole beamed. "Everyone, this is my amazing sister, the one who's always supported me." I said nothing as I walked straight up to her and handed her the envelope. "What's this? A birthday present?" she asked, smiling. "In a way," I said. She opened it. Inside was an official eviction notice. The color drained from her face. "This has to be some kind of joke." "It's not," I said loudly. The chatter died instantly. All eyes turned to us. Dad rushed over in a panic. "Lindsay, what are you doing?" I turned to the crowd. "I have an announcement. This house was legally purchased by me 6 months ago. I am the sole owner." A murmur spread. "For the past 2 years," I continued, "I've been working 60 hours a week, covering this family's entire rent. Nicole hasn't paid a single cent." Dad shouted, "Don't bring this nonsense up here." "Yes," I said firmly. "This is exactly where it needs to be said. Everyone here deserves to know the truth about Nicole." I looked around at the stunned crowd. Nicole is not an entrepreneur. She's a fraud. She's stolen from the family, stolen my identity, and today, she's stealing your applause and your gifts. Dad opened his mouth, but I held up a hand to stop him. And that's not all. I pulled out the documents John had given me. Nicole took out a $22,000 loan using my identity. That's a federal crime. Silence swept over the party. She used my name, my social security number, my workplace details without ever asking for my consent. Dad stepped forward, confused. "What are you saying?" "Nicole told us you had agreed to it." "Agreed?" I scoffed. "When exactly did I do that?" Mom chimed in, clearly flustered. "Nicole said Lindsay had agreed to co-sign, right, Nicole?" Nicole stared at the ground. She didn't answer. Dad tried to defend her. "Lindsay, maybe you're just forgetting? Nicole wouldn't lie about something like this. Forget co-signing a $22,000 loan?" I said sharply. "I never agreed. In fact, I was never even told I was supposed to be a co-signer." I turned back to the guests. "Everyone, please listen. Nicole told our parents I had given her permission. She lied and used that lie to steal my identity." Dad turned to Nicole, horror dawning on his face. "Nicole, no, but you said Lindsay was okay with it." Mom started to say something, but Nicole gave the smallest shake of her head. At that moment, something in Dad's face cracked. "Nicole, why are you shaking your head?" I. Nicole's voice trembled. Mom went pale. "You really did this without her permission?" Nicole began to cry. "Mom, I was just trying to help the family." "Help the family?" I snapped. "By committing fraud? By ruining my life?" Dad buried his face in his hands. We thought you had agreed." I spoke calmly now. "What you're all seeing right now is Nicole's true self. She lied to our parents. She told them I gave permission. Dad groaned, head in hands. We were tricked. You were complicit, I said. You never once stopped to verify the truth. You took Nicole's word as gospel. But you never gave me the same courtesy. Not once. Mom's voice shook. Nicole, tell me it's not true. Did you really do all this without Lindsay's permission? Nicole, crying openly now, nodded. The silence deepened. My parents' faces reflected pure confusion, regret, and the shock of betrayal. Nicole was sobbing now. Lindsay, please, stop. I won't, I said. I've stayed silent for 2 years. That ends today. I pointed to the eviction notice. You all have 30 days to vacate this house. Anyone who hasn't paid rent has no right to live here anymore. Mom stepped forward. Please, Lindsay. Let's talk about this. We're family. Family? I laughed bitterly. Does family commit fraud against me? Does family treat me like an ATM? And then I dropped the final bomb. By the way, this party? The $5,000 for the food, the champagne, the photographer, it was all paid with the money Nicole stole, using my identity. Everything you're enjoying right now is the product of a crime. Utter silence. I walked back into the house without looking back. Before closing the door behind me, I said one last thing. I suggest you start packing. The next visitor will be a lawyer. From the window, I watched as the party guests quickly began to scatter. Nicole had collapsed onto the ground, crying. It was perfect. 3 weeks after the eviction notice, the house was eerily quiet. Nicole disappeared the day after receiving it, without saying where she was going. I later realized that the moment she was confronted with the evidence of identity theft, she knew there was a real chance she could be arrested. When I said the word crime at the party, her face went pale with fear. The next morning, all critical documents were gone from her room. Her hard drive had been physically destroyed and her phone line disconnected. It was obvious she had tried to eliminate all evidence. A neighbor mentioned seeing her leave around 2 a.m., loading 2 large suitcases into her car. My parents said she had told them she was staying with a friend for a while. But I knew the truth. She was running from everything that was about to catch up with her. All that remained in her room were expensive cosmetics and clothes. It looked more like a fugitive's hideout than a bedroom. For the first 2 weeks, my parents begged me daily. We need to talk as a family. We didn't know. We're sorry. Let's move on from this. But my decision never wavered. Attorney Vanessa had contacted me with more updates. The identity theft case was far worse than we thought. Nicole had opened 2 more credit cards under my name, racking up a total of $35,000 in fraudulent charges. Just repairing my credit would take over a year. You have enough evidence to press criminal charges, Vanessa told me. This qualifies as a federal offense. I'm not thinking about that right now, I replied. I just want them to stay away from me for good. On the day of the eviction deadline, I had one final conversation with my parents. They were loading their things into a moving truck, both in tears. We were wrong, Mom said. We admit we didn't believe you. But can't we be a family again? I spoke gently. I'm starting a new life. You should too. 3 months later, something unexpected happened at the lab. Dr. Gale, my direct supervisor, walked into my office. Lindsay, there's an incredible opportunity for you, he said. There's an offer from the Advanced Biotechnology Institute in Boston. Boston? Your paper's been getting attention in the field. They're offering 1.8 times your current salary, full research funding, and housing assistance. I don't want to lose you, but for your career, this is golden. I accepted without hesitation. A month later, I was living in a new apartment in Boston, a 20th floor unit overlooking the ocean. A lab equipped with the best research tools I could ask for. But more importantly, uninterrupted freedom. My bank account was filling with both the proceeds from selling the house and my new salary. There were no debts to pay off for anyone else. No unreasonable requests to fulfill. For the first time, I could spend money on myself without guilt. 6 months after moving to Boston, I got a call from Emma, an old friend. She told me in detail about my family's current situation. I ran into your parents recently. "They're not doing well," she said. "Your dad's working weekends, now night shifts at a grocery store. And he's over 70. My heart felt complicated. What about my mom? She got a cleaning job. She's working at a hospital starting at 5 a.m. every day. For the first time, they're learning what financial hardship actually feels like. What shocked me most was that they had started meeting with a financial planner. They told him they'd only just realized how much you'd supported the household. They cried when they said it. A few days later, I heard from John again, Nicole's ex-husband. He gave me an update on her. "She's living out of state, in a small town," he said. "She was at a homeless shelter for a while, but now she's renting a cheap apartment and working at a fast food joint." And the fraud case? She's spoken to a lawyer. They told her if she turns herself in, she might get a lighter sentence. She hasn't made a decision yet. But she's trying to change. She's going to therapy 3 times a week and attending a support group for prescription drug addiction. Addiction? She got hooked on prescription meds after her investments failed. It clouded her judgment. That's what led to a lot of this. A month later, I received a letter from my parents, written in Mom's handwriting. "Lindsay, we were wrong. We only now understand how much you did for us, how much you carried alone at just 22 years old. Your father works nights at a grocery store at 70. I clean hospital floors at dawn. And this is normal life. You carried that burden all on your own at just 22, and instead of appreciating you, we believed Nicole's lies and failed to understand you. We were shocked when the financial planner reviewed our household finances. He said the amount you contributed covered 60% of a typical household income. We treated our daughter like a bank account. We don't expect forgiveness. We just hope wherever you are, you're happy." I folded the letter and let out a long, steady breath. Their suffering was of their own making. But at least now, they were beginning to see the truth. Now, I run along the Boston shoreline as the sun rises. I lost a lot in the last 2 years. Money, time, to last. But what I gained was worth far more. Self-respect, independence, real freedom. Family isn't just blood. It's the people who respect you, support you, and help you grow. I'm building a new family now. My colleagues, my neighbors, and most of all, the stronger version of myself. I haven't replied to Mom's letter. Today, a new research project begins. We're developing a breakthrough treatment for cancer. And for the first time, my energy belongs to something I believe in. Not someone else's debts, not someone else's disasters. This is the beginning of my real life.